Okay, so welcome, Paul Waite, to the
Matter.
Wordmill podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Look at that big smile.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to start off by acknowledging your autobiography from 1995. I tried to the Paul Wade story. Is it Captain Socceroo? The Paul Wade story.
Yeah.
So you wrote that by yourself.
Yeah. Oh, no. I had Kyle Patterson, who was a journalist, and it was always about football. He was the one who said, you know what? We need to write a story, and we need to write it before you retire because everybody writes it afterwards. So he said, look, I know a lot of the stories because of his background covering football. And he said, I'll write it. You and me sit down, have a chat, and I'll write it. Afterwards, he goes, I will never do that again. That was so hard.
Why? Why was it?
Oh,
hard?
just the amount of work that goes into
Yeah.
writing a book. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like doing a couple of paragraphs.
Yeah.
You got to make it all work.
Yeah.
So good on him.
I tried to get a copy to read. I couldn't. I couldn't get one. I found
sold out.
Oh yeah, I believe that. Yeah. I phoned the library. He said by the time they would be able to get their hands on one, it'll be too late for me to read before I interviewed you. So I'm sorry about that. I would have loved to have
all right.
read it. Are you thinking of publishing it again?
No. You know what, though? One of the things we did talk about before we started writing it was, should I mention my epilepsy?
Okay.
Because we can talk about that
Yeah.
whenever you like. And it was a decision that I thought, well, you know what? I was still playing. So I thought to myself, don't tell anyone. Because when I first had it, I was embarrassed. So we decided, no, let's leave that out. Maybe we could talk about that after football. So, we left it out. So I don't know. Maybe
do you regret not putting that in the book?
No, you know what?
No.
No, I don't, because now I can tell a story with the experiences of other people. I was not aware of what other people were going through. You know what I mean? It's people who had similar challenges. So now I can appreciate what it's like to have it, what it's like not to have it, and what it's like for people who are having to live with that person.
Did you want to talk about it now?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So I've heard you tell your story about when you had epilepsy, when you found out you had it.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk about that a little bit in your own words about when you discovered that you did have epilepsy?
Yeah, it was towards the end of my 20s. I knew what I was feeling. When I think back, the number of times, and this is how I describe it now, it's they're words to me now. I can still sense how I felt, but I mean, the emotion after so many years, because I haven't had a seizure since 2002. So all that, the only way I can put it in words is I felt sick, hot, dizzy, lonely, which sounds weird, right? But that's exactly how I felt. But it only lasted for 30 seconds. So
when you woke up, when you came to, because I don't really know much about epilepsy.
Anywhere, anytime. Could have been in a game, could have been going to school. But I thought that was the way my body was handling pressure. So suck it up. I grew up in an era where my dad would say, never let them know you're hurt. Now, especially in sport, because as soon as the opposition know you're hurt, that's it. They're going to be lifted a bit. So that was my mentality. So don't tell anyone. Suck it up.
What was the stigma that you felt?
I felt I was the only one with epilepsy. I didn't know anyone else with epilepsy. And what happened, being such a strange feeling for 30 seconds, I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want people going, oh, are you all right? Or there's something wrong with you. Oh, let's not muck around with him. Or, oh, we can't do that because you've got epilepsy. So I thought, don't say anything and let them treat you like everybody else. So I didn't say a word. And then I don't know whether I told my mum, but when I talk to my mum now, she says, I saw all the signs when you were growing up? You know, there are hundreds of different kinds of seizures, but she said the ones I saw, you were sitting on the couch watching the telly, for example, and she talked to me and I wouldn't say anything. You know what I mean? I've given you that pause to try and emphasize what it was like when somebody has a seizure and there's nothing. And she thought it was because maybe I was daydreaming. She thinks back now and go, yeah, you were having seizures. And I was smacking my lips. And she thought, oh, he's obviously got a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah.
Well, I was having a seizure. So I was born with a little scratch on my front temporal lobe. Nobody else in our family before me has had epilepsy recognized. But since then, my daughter's got epilepsy. So there must be something in it, hereditary. So, it was late 20s when I realized that, there is something seriously wrong here.
My sister recently, I suppose in the last couple of years, was diagnosed with epilepsy.
Is that right? Wow.
So we never knew. We knew that she slept a lot.
Yeah.
She was always tired.
Yep.
Didn't understand why. We thought she was just lazy.
Lazy.
But it took all these years to
So how old was she?
my sister's, how old am I? Sorry, I've got to do it in relation to me. You know how it is with siblings.
Yeah.
So she would have been 49, 48 when she was diagnosed. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So she must have been feeling something like me, but didn't tell anyone either.
That's right. My other sister, they're closer in age to those two, said to me recently that the other one would say she has her moments, she would call them, I think, when she wasn't there.
Yep.
And my other sister said, and every time the one who had the epilepsy would be tired, she said after she has these, what does she call them? Something like moments. She would be extremely tired after and would need to go to sleep.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very, like, I wonder how many people have it now that are wandering around or have it their whole lives and would never be diagnosed.
Yeah. When I listen to the story, because I work with, I see my mobile's gone off. This is quite appropriate, actually. No, don't edit this bit out because
Okay.
this is me setting my alarm for my drugs.
Oh, okay.
And if I miss my drugs, because I take drugs in the morning and at night, if I miss them, I always live in fear that, the epilepsy, because it can, is going to come back. So I've got alarms all the time. And if I remember, just say I'm doing a radio, a TV interview, hoping that I remember to turn my mobile off or leave it in the car or at home. So I think, you know what, I've been talking about this for so long and sharing these stories that I'm not embarrassed that my mobile has gone off. In fact, when I'm talking to 200 kids in high school and it goes off, I make a real life lesson of that. You know what I mean?
So you talk to them about epilepsy.
Yeah, that's what I do now.
That's a really good thing. Look, I'll tell you a story. When I was going to high school a very long time ago, there was a girl that was treated like with kid gloves by our teachers.
Yeah.
She didn't really have any friends. She didn't really speak to us. One of those very introverted type of people. And we didn't know why. We never questioned why. We just left her alone. And then one day she had a fit and was, on the floor. And the thing is that we had no feelings about epilepsy or fitting or anything like that. And that's when I realized, or I thought, is there some stigma attached to this? Like we were a lot of Polynesian and Maori kids. She was white. So we didn't have a culture of that. We didn't know that, I think we were more accepting of people's, I don't even know what to call it. It's not a fault. It's not anything. It's just who that person was. Yeah. And I think that was detrimental to this girl by others treating her this way and trying to protect her in that way and not letting the rest of us know what she was going through.
Yeah.
When she could have, I thought, had a more freer school life, making friends, and all this sort of thing instead of being closed in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it's horrible. It really is. But you deal with it. It's not as if all of a sudden you've got all these feelings. You've been having them for years and you've just accepted it as part of life.
It's normal.
It's just normal.
It's who you are.
Yeah, that's right. And I seriously look back now and go, maybe it's the way my body was handling pressure. That pressure of expectation, whether that be at school or in the football field or talking to girls or, you know what I mean? There's always that, oh, gee, I don't want to mess up this sentence in front of these girls because they'll think I'm an idiot or.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to bring up with you, pressure. When you're playing for Australia, playing soccer, but you just mentioned girls right now. And something I thought of this morning, because I was quite naive, even as an adult. I learned a lot of things from my husband.
Yeah.
I grew up.
Yeah.
But did you ever have groupies? Were there groupies in the soccer team? No?
Have a look at my head.
Come on.
Wreck.
No.
You know what? It's funny you should say that because I was at a function. It was a celebration of a life, an administrator at Football Australia. And I was standing next to Graham Arnold, who was the national team coach, just resigned and played for the Socceroos. We used to call him goal a game Arnie, because he did. He scored almost every game. And we were standing there and we were chatting. And he goes, you know what, Wadey? The reason I got in photos with you and stood next to you is because you made me look good. And I thought, you miserable. And he still remembers that story, however many years after it happened. But, I mean, we all took the mickey out of each other. And that was the beauty of being in a dressing room.
Yeah.
There were no boundaries. Nobody took offense to anything. Nobody took offense to. We'd get angry with each other. There's no doubt about that. And we didn't always like each other. We didn't always want to go around to each other's house for a meal. But we all accepted that culture of, hey, we're all dealing with pressure, and it's a great way of relieving that pressure a little bit. Just take the mickey out of somebody. Just either make them look stupid.
Yeah.
Things like the first day in a camp. Say we were in camp 2 weeks in a hotel and trained every day, and somebody, because we all had our keys for our own room, so all the keys were there. And if you got up for any reason and left the table, say at lunch, see, now it's gone. My mobile's gone. It's the mayor. I won't answer it.
Oh, no.
No. Again, I'm so no. Honestly,
we can stop if you like to.
No. I don't know. It's really weird that we can just take the mickey out of each other, and it just brings us all back to living without the stress and the expectation of the media doing what they do, like to create stories. So, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Which is a good and bad thing. So tell me about how you handled pressure. What do you do yourself? Like if you've got a qualifying game coming up. Look, I don't know much about soccer, so I'm going to.
Hang on. Can I correct?
Okay. Football. Okay, I'll call it football.
Yeah.
So I don't know very much about it. I never played it.
Yeah.
I played other sports, but not that one. Yeah. And a large portion of my life was growing up in New Zealand. So you can imagine what I was.
Oh, rugby.
Yeah.
Nothing but rugby.
And way back then had a very anti-soccer, anti-football attitude as well.
Yep.
So
was it called wog ball back then?
No.
You were there?
No. Just ignored it completely. We didn't have very many wogs in New Zealand, so or where I grew up.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I'll let you know that straight off the bat.
But do we agree to call it?
Yes, I will call it football.
I only joke about it.
I appreciate it more now.
Yeah.
my husband's father was from Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh,
Liverpool.
yeah.
And he played soccer at one stage and had the potential to play in clubs,
Yeah.
but he didn't. And he said that the balls they used to play with back then were heavy. They used to get soggy and wet and so heavy that it was, when they kicked it,
Oh, big time.
it weighed a ton.
Oh,
So,
this conversation
mm,
would go down a horrible path of dementia
mm.
because that ball has killed a number of
yeah.
ex-footballers, professionals playing for Liverpool, Leeds, Man United, all those there. Their job was to head the ball.
Oh my God.
And every time they headed the ball, their brain rattled in their skull. But you know what? It didn't hurt the brain other than because your brain's like jelly. It's not as if you get a bang on the head. It didn't hurt your head when you headed the ball because your forehead
Yeah.
becomes accustomed to it.
Mm.
It's no big deal.
Okay.
I loved heading a ball. But yeah, that's interesting. That
Oh.
ball caused a lot of damage.
Yeah, so it was a good thing you didn't play then.
Yeah.
You came to Australia instead.
The ball was a little bit lighter, but yeah, it wasn't leather.
No. So pressure.
Yeah.
How did you cope? What did you do? What was the most pressure-filled moment for you playing?
I played against Diego Maradona, who's
I've heard
considered
that story,
one of the greatest
yeah.
players, if not the greatest player. I think that'll be a debate that rages for years and years. Messi, Pele, Maradona. Can I tell you how I tell people now? You know what I mean? I this is what I do for a living. I tell stories.
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller. And one of those stories is dealing with stress.
Okay.
So do you mind if I just...
Talk to me about stress.
Yeah, because it's the biggest issue at the moment.
Yeah.
It is massive. Well, I think we all know that, but finding the people to put their hand up and say, yeah, I'm dealing with some horrible things here. I try and tell them what it was like for me. Since I've retired, since I've my profile's gone down to a manageable area like everybody else. Sometimes when you're playing for your country or you're playing for your club or you're on the TV, the pressure just goes right up because, and this is what, to try and understand stress or anxiety, having done all this reading, it's capability versus expectation. What you think you're capable of
Right.
and what you think is expected of you. So in a normal situation, it might be, I am this good at sport, but all my mates are that good. I won't fit in there. So you feel isolated. Or it might be an exam at school. All right, I haven't studied, but my mum wants me to get my HSC. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Your emotional mind says that to you. You're not good enough to do that. You can't do that. So it's your emotional mind that's messing with you. And this is not going to the be all and end all for everyone who's got stress and feeling anxious. But they say, neurologists say, get it out of your emotional mind. Stop, rationalize it by writing it down. And they say, write 3 things down. The letter A, which stands for what activated the event, what triggered it. So it's activation. What moment was it that started these horrible feelings? B, what did you believe the danger was? Because, again, that's your emotional mind saying you can't do that or you're not good enough to do this. So what did you believe was happening? And C, what were the consequences? So mentally, stressed, physically, I'm walking up and down. I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm isolating myself. I'm not eating. They're the consequences. So if you actually put it on a piece of paper at 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, I'm stressed about the mortgage or whatever.
Mm.
Write those 3 things down. Write whatever you like down, but get it out of your emotional mind so that you can, your rational mind, if you want to call it that, we can look at it on a piece of paper and see it factually. Well, there's no proof
Mm.
that I can't get my HSC. And I can talk to the teacher about whatever problem it is. I can write the problem down. So all of a sudden now, it's not an emotion, it's not a feeling, it's not a worry. It's more, hey, I've got a few problems here.
Mm.
And now I don't know whether I can solve them, but at least I can see them on a piece of paper. And so it doesn't always work,
Mm.
but you got to practice writing it down.
Is that what you did when you were playing?
No, but I've discovered this only because of my interest in the mind, because of my epilepsy and because of my fading memory, that I'm starting to think that's what happened to me when I played against Maradona. And just to give you that story, when I was told I was marking Maradona, the first thing you think about is he's the greatest player ever to play the game. He won the World Cup almost
By
on his
himself.
own in 1986.
Wow.
So your emotional mind is saying, because I just played for South Melbourne in the old National Soccer League here, and I'm expected to stop the greatest player ever to play the game. So my mind was capability, playing for South Melbourne, expectation, marking Maradona. See?
Yeah.
Now, I haven't read all this, having spoken to neurologists, it makes perfect sense when I look back. And so my writing it down, I didn't actually write it down. The coach said to me, God bless him, he's no longer with us, he said, have a look at the last 2 games that he played. So now I'm watching this bit of vision, and that's my writing it down. I can see that he's only that tall, and I can see he's only using his left, and I can see he's super strong. But the fourth thing I recognized while I was just watching these 2 games is that he didn't move very far.
Right.
Because he would walk around looking like he's not interested, and then bang, he'd get the ball and he'd score a goal, or he'd deliver a pass that could score a goal, or, and in today's version, Lionel Messi walked at the World Cup more than any other player.
Wow.
So again, it's another moment today that was happening way back in the day. So that was me writing it down. He's that big, left foot, super strong, but doesn't move very far. Now, all of a sudden, I've got something to concentrate on. It's not Maradona, the greatest player ever to play the game, and I'm not good enough. It was, right, okay, I don't know whether I can stop him, but at least I've got a bit of information now. I can see it. So I practiced that for a couple of weeks, just thinking about those things. And I was nervous when I went out there, standing in the Sydney Football Stadium tunnel. I'm sure my heart was racing. I never played without my heart racing and being nervous. But when I look back about it now, I wasn't paralyzed by this fear of failure.
Right.
And I think that's what, and you need to be stressed to achieve your best, I believe. Not paralyzed with stress, just that nerves, because it means you're thinking about what you've got to do and how you've got to do it.
Well, I've read that you defended really well.
Well, we'll debate that another time, shall we? No, it's I don't know. He didn't score a goal. Let's hang my hat on that.
Yeah.
We'll hang my hat on that.
Yeah.
He didn't score a goal, but he did cross the ball that they scored from in Sydney. But they were winning 1-0, and we scored a goal at the other end. The noise was amazing.
Yeah.
But just standing next to him, there was a couple of times where I went, wow, that's Diego Maradona.
Yeah.
I wasn't in awe of him. I made sure I did what I could to stop him getting the ball. But some of the things he did, I just thought, wow, that's the '93
Mm.
Maradona, the '86 Maradona that won the World Cup on his own. Nobody was going to stop him. So I was lucky that I marked him 7 years later, in a way.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, but you were, no, I don't know. I really don't know much about soccer, but I do understand elite sports people, of which I would class you.
would you?
Yeah, I would. You wouldn't be playing in the national team if you weren't. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't be there. Come on,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be
I
there.
don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's my background,
Mm.
but I remember my dad saying, "God bless him, he's no longer with us. He just died."
Yeah.
But I always took the mickey out of him. Dad, I remember I was driving home in the car, and I was in the passenger seat because he always came to watch me play, all our kids,
Wow.
and my mum as well. But I remember always thinking on the way home, I'm a junior player.
Mm.
If he didn't say anything, I'd done all right. I'd done all right.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't played well, I knew it was coming because he'd sit there, he'd had his eyes on the road, his hands on the wheel, and he'd glance over to me and go, I don't know why you bother.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I knew it was coming, and maybe because of that, never let them know you're hurt. I don't know why you bother. I never went in cowering in a corner and cried. It was just the way it was. I'm not saying we should do that to our kids now. I never did it to any of our 3 girls. I did say, never let them know you're hurt. Until my eldest daughter went up to my dad and said, hey, Grandad, did you ever tell my dad never let him know you're hurt? And he goes, yep, until you want something. And then just lay it out. And I thought, you miserable so-and-so, you never told me that.
Let's talk a little bit about that, though. Are you talking about when football players fall over on the ground to get a penalty, trying to get a penalty?
Oh. Now it's worse.
Yeah.
If you did that back in the day, I love using back in the day 'cause that's all I've got, back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know, you would just be torn apart by your players. You really would.
Because there is that reputation for football players to be soft.
Yeah, that was outside of football, dead right. But inside of football,
right,
the amount of work you do in 90 minutes, the number of kicks you get in 90 minutes, the tactics, not just sideways like rugby league, but the ball comes from everywhere. There's an offside rule, which means you've got to think about going forward. You can't go too forward too fast because you're going to be caught offside. If you don't get behind the ball, you're going to concede. So mentally and physically, I don't think, unless you actually play or watch it all the time, how furthest from soft this game is.
I've heard Joe Rogan describe football players as the fittest sports people in the world. In any sport. And I've seen photos of your legs.
How skinny were they?
Well, not just skinny, you're very cut. Or the exercise, it really showed.
I used to...
And until he said that, I really didn't look at footballers' legs till he said that. That's only recently.
For all of you guys listening, I'm just fanning myself. I'm turning red. No, I played at 72 kilos. And I think, wow, I must have been burning some energy because it wasn't the diet stuff that happens now. I'm not, a relic or anything, but things were so different that I used to drink a liter of full cream milk after training. Between when I finished training at, 8:30 at night and when I got home at 10 o'clock to have my dinner, I went to bed before I got up to go to work at 7 o'clock the next morning. So the amount of things we didn't do that they have to do now for their health, their fitness, it's different world.
Okay, so let's go back to pressure again.
Yeah.
If you were overseas and you had a game that was coming up, what would you do? What would you do yourself by yourself to prepare?
I was always aware of what I was putting into my body, even though I
Okay.
had 2 Big Macs, large fries, large Coke,
Mm.
um, especially in the days leading up to it. You had to have a pre-match meal 4 hours before a game, and it had to be that pre-match meal. So for mine, it was spaghetti bowl, and it was 4
Okay.
hours before a game. But
And you
so,
didn't eat anything after that?
oh no, between the game and that meal, no,
Mm. Okay.
because that needed to digest. You had the pasta in there,
Mm,
and
mm, mm.
the goalkeeper I played with, he used to have honey on toast. It's
Okay.
whatever made you feel that you were ready to play.
Oh,
Even further back than that, they used to have steak and chips, but it was what made
yep.
them feel that they were ready to go. So, and I was always in bed at 10 o'clock
Mm.
every night before a game because that's when my game started. I had roomed with a guy who wouldn't go to bed till 1 o'clock in the morning, but
Oh,
he had enough respect that he would either be quiet or he wouldn't come back to the room until
yeah.
it was nearly his bedtime.
Were you married during
Yeah.
this whole time?
Married in 87 and I
Mm.
became a Socceroo in 86.
How did your wife cope with all the
Well,
stuff that you were doing?
yeah, another part of my story is that you do need to compromise. No matter
Mm.
who you are, what you're doing, you've got to have the ability to compromise. And people might say, well, if you're going to be an elite athlete, you can't compromise. This is an
Mm.
example. Because in my mind, I had to be in bed at 10 o'clock because that was my body and my mind preparing for a game the next day. Um, if we were going to go to a wedding,
Mm.
but then the reception, we would organize how Val was going to get home after. Because if it
Right.
meant that I had to leave at 8 o'clock to
Mm.
be in bed at 10, then that's what I had to do. And she understood that,
Mm.
or maybe not understood it, but accepted it as part
Yeah.
of who I was preparing for a game. So it
Okay.
wasn't, oh, we're not going to leave now, are we? It was, you knew I was going to leave at that time. You knew I like to be in bed at 10 o'clock. So everybody in the house didn't have to shut up, but just be respectful of the fact that I'm trying to get to sleep at 10 o'clock. So that was my little thing because it quickly becomes 11,
Mm.
then 11:30,
Yeah.
and then 12,
Mm.
and you wake up and you're not feeling good anymore, and all of a sudden I can't do the job I'm there to do. That's
Yeah.
hard work.
Well, you've said it. That was your job.
It was my
That
job.
was your job.
Yeah,
But
I was never a full-time footballer.
yeah, I've read that. Tell me how you handled that. Being,
Ooh. That was hard. That was hard, but I loved it. I would catch, and I worked it out the other day because I was going to tell this story to a group of youths, and we were
Mm.
talking about commitment, and resilience,
Mm.
and what happens when you really, really want to do something. And I told him I catched.
I know
Poor
what you meant.
English. Just
Yeah, it's okay.
I will edit that. No.
No.
Um, oh, um, I caught 5 trains a day,
5.
worked 8 hours a day in between all of those, pranked my mum when I got at the end of the last train so she could come and pick me up because I didn't drive. I'm 16.
Yeah.
So she could pick me up, 17, I think, and take me back home, and then I would eat, and I wouldn't get into bed on a working day
Mm.
till after 10 o'clock. So, and then, when I did start to drive and I was working full time as a draftsman,
Mm.
I would drive an hour and a half the opposite direction to where I live to train for an hour and a half, and
Mm.
drive all the way home, which took me, I don't know, 2 hours, whatever. And it was 3 nights a week, but I wanted to do it.
Mm.
I didn't want to become a Socceroo. I dreamt of playing for Liverpool, but I knew that it was only a dream.
Mm.
I just wanted to train and I just wanted to play for no other reason.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're saying, you've got to do that.
Mm.
You must. If you can't do that, you won't be able to do this. Oh, geez, I'm glad they didn't tell me.
So why did you play football? Did you love it? Did you go through all of this because you loved it? And today, I don't know if there's money in football. I don't know.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh,
So maybe is there a different reason players play today as opposed to when you were playing?
I don't think the reason changes the outcome of playing. Definitely. People play football and commit so much time to it because they do love it. You can't, I don't think, I'm sure there's exceptions, you can't dedicate that much time and that much effort and creating that many moments, as you were talking about before, if you don't love playing football. Because there are so many down of any code.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more about football. What is it about football that you love or loved?
You weren't, well, for a start, scoring goals was great.
Yeah.
And scoring a goal past one of your teammates, and it was great. And mimicking what you saw on the telly, your heroes do, who are playing in front of, I don't know, 20,000, 40,000 people, and being adored, another reason I want to play. But the most important one was, I think, well done, Wadey. Or, hey, Wadey, good job, if it was on the park. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To hear somebody say, well done, it gave you a buzz. So you wanted to do it again. And my pimples were never judged as a footballer because I had a face full of pimples.
Did you?
You know, I was voted the ugliest player in the national team 4 years ago.
Really? Is that true?
Yep. But we had an ugly 11, you know. NSL, National Soccer League, ugly 11. And I was always in it. A couple of times I was the captain of the ugly 11.
I didn't think, there must have been a bunch of really good looking guys because you weren't ugly. I've seen photos.
Here's me fat myself, cheeks turning red, totally embarrassed.
So the rest must have been, what do you call it, superstar, good looking type.
Yeah,
men.
They were good looking. I mean, I asked Graham Arnold. But nobody questioned anything other than my ability to pass a ball or head a ball. And more often than not, you get it right, or people appreciated the amount of work you were doing to try and get it right.
You mentioned heroes.
Yeah.
Who were your heroes?
Anyone who played for Liverpool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. It was, for some, I think I grew up in St. Helens till I was 11, which is a big rugby league town. And the only street that played football was the street that I lived in. And we all played. I lived right next door to a pub. The only thing separating my house and the pub was a car park. And that's where we played. And if you Google, or what is it? Losing my words. With the maps of the world.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I forgot
you
as
can
well.
actually zoom in and go and get shots of all the different. I measured the area that we played football in. MCG, SCGR, Wembley Stadium. It was 15 metres long by 7 metres wide.
Right.
But that was the centre of the universe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there might have been 4 of us, and it might have been a bag at each end, which was the goal. But we would commentate.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin Keegan passes the ball. What a goal. And then you go and do a knee slide or you'd celebrate. It was all theatre. It wasn't, you've got to be able to first touch, one-on-one, striking the ball and whatever, like it is today. I don't know whether kids dream. I know that they have ambition. I know that they're told
Right.
what they've got to do to be successful. I don't know whether they dream. And maybe I should ask somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something I've never thought of as well.
Dream's a
Uh,
lot different to an ambition, I think. A dream's fantasy. And you can always fantasize about playing in front of 100,000 people and scoring a goal. And
yeah. Do you still do that now?
yeah. I look back and go, oh, if I'd have scored that. Can I say this?
Mm.
I heard in a dressing room, and you can edit this out if you want to, said, Wadey, if your dad had worn a condom, we'd have won that game.
Oh.
Harsh. I tell you what,
How'd you-
harsh. But that was, everybody laughed, and I laughed because it's funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I know some of your listeners won't think that's funny, but in a dressing
no, I understand it when you're in a team.
exactly.
You
In a
know.
team, in a dressing room, and you've all got no clothes on and you've just been sweating and some of you are injured and some of you have got blood on you. It is a
Yeah.
different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
not at the dinner table with a glass of wine.
No.
So
Yeah, I understand that. I played sports in a few teams, so yeah.
did you have a dream? Whatever that dream was.
And I did do still, kind of. I didn't have one in sport though. I just enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
And I went to school and I played against someone who would eventually become an All Black. And I thought I was okay at sport, loved it. I always enjoyed sport, still do.
Yeah.
But when I played against him in basketball, there was this difference in athleticism and I don't know, skill and just his body. He seemed as though he was superhuman.
Yeah.
Something I think you know, at that level,
Yeah.
like all players, I think, which I really have a great respect for, all players, athletes in the world, they're above physically, above
I'll agree with that.
anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I think, don't understand that
Yeah.
because when you're on the field and when you play your sport, you make it look easy. It looks like you're not doing much. You're just running here and people are yelling at you, do this, go there, wrong position, not understanding just how, what's the word? How superhuman almost
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because we've got doctors who do amazing things, you know, with the things we can't see because it's that small. And yet I score a goal from 2 yards out and I'm a hero. Do you know what I mean? It's funny how we put
but you are
heroes on such a pedestal. All we're doing is something that we just happen to be good at. There's nothing special about it, but we make it special.
I think it is special. I think it's special because you're doing something beyond what most of us are able to do. You know, so it is
Do you think
special.
You're special by doing this. Look at
No.
the technology you've got and the patience and the research and I just go, yeah, that's incredible. And I'm not saying see the way you're reacting now. You're just giving me the frown, like idiot. What is he saying? But that's true. That's exactly the same in the opposite direction. I look at you and what you've got set up here, and I go, wow.
All right, we'll agree to disagree on that because I think you're more special.
Oh.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So look, while I was looking you up, the thing that stood out for me, the strongest thing that stood out for me was your humility.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
I think it's so important.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things you said was that your soccer legacy did not come from unparalleled skills on the field. Okay. You've also said you weren't quick. You said I wasn't quick. I couldn't score enough goals and others would stand next to me in team photos so they could look better.
Graham Arnold.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a little bit. Where does that
It's
humility come from?
failure.
Failure.
Yeah.
Is this to do with, because something else too, in 1993, you were axed from,
Yes. Yes.
did it come from that? Did that humility come from that? Or did you have this humility before you were, okay, didn't explain this very well for the listeners. So you were axed from the national team for having a bad attitude. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
And you said, I was humiliated. You don't realize how content you've become until you're kicked out right before we played a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah. That's it. That's exactly right. I'll tell you a story. Just before that, we played a club, Italian giants, AC Milan. And I remember this is before, I think I was humbled because of where I was born, how I was brought up. It's ingrained in you. You just do it naturally. But I remember it being reinforced when a coach got me in his room and absolutely gave me a serve for everything that I stood for. You got off the bus like an 80-year-old man. You're whinging and complaining about this. I don't know what, just absolutely tore me apart because I'm feeling angry. I'm totally shocked. I don't know what else to feel. And I just sat there and listened to this. And I think for a lot of it, I just tuned out because I could not believe what I was hearing. And then he calmed down a little bit and then said, why don't you just become the footballer that I picked as the captain? Why don't you just become the normal person that I picked? Anyway, I didn't say anything. I got up and I left, and I was trembling when I was walking back to my room. This was in the hotel. And I got back to my room and I was absolutely stumped. I didn't talk. I didn't do anything. And the phone rings. And so I picked it up. It's the assistant coach, not the coach who's just given me a serve, the assistant coach. And he said, oh, by the way, coach is not happy with you. Fair chance you're not going to play against AC Milan because he is so cheesed off with your attitude to everything at the moment. And I said, because I'd calmed down at this stage, and I said, well, I don't know, maybe I am becoming a little bit, arrogant, for want of a better word, or but he's got to make those decisions. He's the boss. He lives and dies by who he picks and the way we train. And he'd handed the phone, the assistant, to the coach.
Right.
So the coach could hear what I was going to say. How streetwise is that?
Yeah.
From the coach's perspective.
Yeah.
If I'd have said, well, he's an idiot and he has no idea what he's doing and he's probably going to get the sack, I would never have played for Australia again. And he said to me, later on, he said, the four things that I value in life from people is humility, respect, honesty, and loyalty.
Right.
When you think of that in a sporting environment, loyalty is such an important part, and that comes because of humility. You are humble. You don't rate yourself bigger than anyone else. Because he said, as soon as I tell you, oh, by the way, what about the tactics we're playing tomorrow night? This is crap. And you go, yeah, it is. And then you make up something. And then somebody else hears you say something, and all of a sudden loyalty goes out the window. And it's because people weren't humble anymore. You can question all you like.
Yeah.
Loyal, be humble.
Well, it wouldn't bode well for you working as a team, would it?
No. That's where
you don't have that cohesion. You don't.
It
just will fall apart, I think.
Yep. No, it's when you think of the teams that have crashed and burnt, you look inside the dressing room, and there are elements of no humility, no respect,
Yeah.
no honesty,
Mm.
definitely no loyalty.
Were you arrogant though?
Oh,
Were you
furthest
bit
from
up
the
yourself?
truth, but again, he'd put me in my place. I did play that game, but when it came to the game before we played Argentina, we played against Canada. He dropped me from the team, as you alluded to, and because he'd done what he did before, I wasn't angry because I knew he'd done it for a reason. I didn't understand that reason. I found out because I asked the assistant coach. I said, "Can you tell me what I'm doing wrong or how I can get my shirt back?"
Yeah.
And he gave me the advice that I needed. So rather than working harder and harder and harder to get my shirt back,
Yeah.
I had to work a little bit smarter. And so I concentrated on that, working a little bit smarter, tweaking my game just one little bit. I can't explain it, on air because I've just not got enough clever words in me. I'd rather just give you the overall story.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I was dropped for that first game against Canada. We came back to Sydney. We played the second game against Canada, and I was still sitting on the bench, and it went to extra time. We had to play half an hour's extra time. With 20 minutes to go, he said, "Right, on you go." So I had 20 minutes of the last two games to do something that I obviously couldn't do, and the reason I got dropped.
Yeah.
I worked my backside off for 20 minutes like you wouldn't. I was encouraging everyone.
Yeah.
I made a couple of great tackles. I played a couple of great passes, and I really felt that I contributed for that 20 minutes. Well, at the end of that game, at the end of the two games, that one in particular, it was a draw. So it goes to a penalty shootout. Right? So to make it easier for people to understand, both teams have got to take 5 penalties. I mean, they don't have to, but more often than not, they'll take 5 penalties. And so we hadn't decided who was going to be the penalty.
Okay.
Some people don't want to take a penalty.
Yep.
Because it's too stressful.
I didn't know that.
Huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you think that, well, it's not that far out from goal.
Yeah.
Just smash it.
I thought, yeah, okay.
So, and this is the moment in my career where I just go, maybe I did have some leadership qualities, because after he asked that question, I went, me. You've just been dropped for 2 games, and I don't know whether it was in me. I didn't want to prove anybody wrong. It was a reflex. I just went, me, I'm going to take it.
Right.
So the longest walk, because everybody's on the halfway line. You're not allowed to get close to the penalty. And if anyone doesn't know what a penalty is, it's a spot that's right in front of the goal, 12 yards out. And I say 12 yards because they're the dimensions.
Yep.
18-yard box is 19.2 meters or so. It doesn't sound right, does it? So I use
I know, yeah.
I use old money. It's 12 yards out from goal. There's one goalkeeper, no defenders. The ball's sitting there. But when you walk from the halfway line to put that ball on the penalty spot, we talked about stress.
Yeah, what's going through your head at that time?
Exactly. And that's the key. What's going through your head? Well, my little my routine was stand there over the penalty spot with the ball in your hands and look to the goalkeeper's left, my right.
Right.
The goalkeeper's left.
Yep.
And then put the ball down and look at the goalkeeper's left in that corner of the goal. And then take your number of steps back. I never counted the steps. And I passed the ball into the corner that I've just taken a couple of looks at. The number of goalkeepers that dive the other way.
Really?
Because they think,
you're trying to trick them.
He's trying to trick me.
Yeah.
That was my routine. So I was so nervous, but I knew what I was going to do. There was no me looking at the goalkeeper and going, wow, he's a really good goalkeeper. Wow, I've just been dropped and told I'm not good enough. So
Yeah.
again, it was that dealing with stress. I knew what I was going to do. I didn't know whether I was going to score because he might have dived that way.
Did you even feel stress by the time you're up there? Or is that fallen away
Yeah.
and you're just focused on
Yeah.
on the job that's in front of you?
Yeah, you've just got to, you're exhausted. Not that I was because I'd only played
Yeah.
20 minutes, but you was totally, yeah, you're not sitting down for an exam where your pulse is, everything's sweet. Your heart's still racing and you're still pumped. So when you step up there, yes, I'm nervous, but I'm nervous because I know I've got to get it right in that corner. And that makes it a lot easier to deal with. You haven't got time to be totally paralyzed with stress.
Well, stress can be a good thing as well.
Yeah.
Certain types of stress.
Yep, dead right. Oh, you and me need stress. We need to be nervous. We need to be able to handle that nerves. I felt sick before a game. I was that nervous, but I wasn't paralyzed. And I knew that that's the way my body was it was firing up. My heart was racing. I had butterflies because my body's getting ready to fight.
Yep.
If I went out there and you told me we were playing the under 12s, my heart wouldn't race. I'd be going, yeah, all right.
And then you might lose to the under 12s.
Exactly right. Because I'm not ready.
Not fired up.
Not fired up. So I accepted the way my body was as part of preparing for the game, dealing with stress. I'm not saying it worked. I still have the same problems everybody else has, and I still stress out. But I know that it's a process that I've just got to go through, and it's horrible, but it won't kill me. It's very, very uncomfortable. And I don't know what it's like to be on the edge. Do you know what I mean? To be that in such a horrible place. So I'm not pretending that I've got all the answers. I'm just saying that this is how I felt and how I dealt with it.
I think it's important. It's important to know, because I think a lot of young people these days are riddled with anxiety.
They are.
And don't know.
And I don't know whether I could live their lives.
Yeah.
Because it is so stressful. And we all say, oh, back in the day we used to do this. Yeah, but back in the day we didn't have social media and the level of expectation on us.
I agree. No one was looking at us.
No.
No one cared.
Yeah.
Where we were, we didn't care.
No.
You do things that you knew you could get away with because there's no one around the corner with a phone filming you or anything like that. So we, I think, made mistakes without, freely.
Yeah.
And we're left alone to learn from those mistakes.
Yeah.
They weren't put out there for the whole world to look at and laugh at you.
Yeah.
So
much easier. So when I talk to kids now, I tell them my story, what I've learned since and how I've looked back and gone, even though those stories, that research is coming out now, that was happening to me back then. So don't discard older people, not old people. We're all older than you. Don't disregard older people and what they can bring to the table, because a lot of it is the same.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I want to talk to you a little bit about leadership. What is leadership? So I think that there's intrinsically something more to you that your coach saw in you that made you a leader. And one of these things I would use as an example is when I think you said that you phoned a TV channel.
Yes. Wow, you really have done your research.
Yeah. So you take the initiative. You push forward. You're not a stagnant person. You've got those qualities that that motivate and push forward, and you don't just sit back and I think that those are qualities that make leaders.
Yeah.
If you were hunting for a mammoth, you'll be going, give me that spear, just like you said, give me that ball and I'll kick that penalty goal.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, let's go hunt.
Yeah.
And you'll be right there at the forefront. You lead by example. You're at the forefront of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And I didn't purposely go to uni to be able to do that. I learned to do that. And again, I say to people, there is no easy way. I wish we, the older, we wish we could give you all the answers, but we can't. So accept the fact that it's going to be difficult. Accept the fact that you're going to, and I'll ask you, can I ask you,
you can
when
ask
was the last time
yes
you did something for the first time? You don't have to give me specifics.
The last
Is this the first time?
Yeah. No, this is not the first time. 2 months ago was the last time doing my first interview on this thing.
And how did you feel?
Did
that microphone, was it intimidating, for example?
No.
Oh.
It wasn't. You'll be the most intimidating, I feel, person I've spoken to. But I thought the microphone would, but it doesn't. And I think it's because, and I've thought about this, I think it's because I find people interesting. I find you interesting. I find the people I'm talking to interesting.
That's why you're so good at it, because you sound so genuine.
I'm not sure if I'm good at it. I'm learning, and that's all I'm thinking when I do this is I'm learning, how to do things better, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the most important thing I've learned by doing this is don't worry about my mistakes. Just learn and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, isn't it? But when we're living it, you and me, sometimes you don't want to be there, but you can't run. You shouldn't run. It will be. And that's why I love that. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Because if you're not doing
when was the last time you did something for the first time?
That's not fair.
Well, come on.
That's not fair. I ran for council.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Oh, wow. And you know what? I have so much respect for people in politics, the councillors. We all have those challenges, but if I told you some of the stories.
Tell me. You've said that people were rude.
No.
You come on.
Because I was part of a team. Team
Central Coast.
Laurie McKenna.
Yeah.
And he is now the mayor of the Central Coast. And he deserves to be. He's an unbelievable man. He knows how to talk to people on so many levels. He knows how to connect people. It's not all about him and his chains. It's about how I can help you. See, what he would have done, he would have put you in touch with somebody who was looking to do a podcast.
Okay, yeah.
And so he's just married you and that person. And so now you've got a connection. But he was the one who did the introduction. He is such a leader.
Okay.
He is just amazing. But he had 15 people. He got 15 people together. Some high-profile people on the Central Coast and said, look, I'm creating a team. There's going to be 3 candidates in each of the 5 wards. And together we will be independent, but we will be under the banner of Team Central Coast. We're not Labor.
Mm,
We're not Liberal.
mm,
We're not the Greens. We're independent. We do what we want. No party politics.
mm,
We listen to the people of the Central Coast. And he got 3 people in.
mm. Are you
Out of 5.
disappointed that?
Sorry?
Are you disappointed you didn't?
No. And that's part of my story about when was the last time you did something for
Yeah.
the first time. You don't realize what you have to do just to register to be on a ballot paper. The
Okay.
amount of marketing and promotion and standing there handing out flyers and going to fundraisers and
Mm,
talking to people of influence.
yeah.
All we see is a pothole on the Central Coast. And boy, have we got a few of those.
It's a huge preoccupation with potholes.
What is it? Rates, rubbish, and what's the roads?
Roads.
Yeah, that's all we whinge about apparently on the Central Coast.
Right.
So to do that was a real eye-opener. Never have respect for a counsellor or anybody in that position. In fact, have respect for everybody, but
Would you do it again?
no chance. Absolutely no chance.
Tell me about the rudeness.
The what?
People being rude.
Oh,
Rude.
rude. Well, usually people don't realize that they are being rude. And I wasn't disciplined when I was growing up, as in getting whacked. I was never
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
old-fashioned smack on the bum, but
Mm.
I knew about respect. Boy, did I know about respect. So when I hear people say to me, get out of my way, I know who I'm going to vote for, and it doesn't matter who I vote for because you're all
Oh, well.
wow. All I did was I didn't say anything. I
Mm.
just held a flyer out in
Yeah.
front of him. And so that really got me for just the fact that he treated me the way he did. And I know people have got problems all the time, but I would never speak to somebody like that, even if I was in a bad mood.
Mm.
So I think to myself now, I could never become a counsellor.
Did that
because-
happen often when you were campaigning?
No.
Okay.
I must admit that's a
All
very
right,
good
all right.
point. I should be reminded of that because there's lots of beautiful people. In fact, 99.99% of people are beautiful. They're
Okay.
frustrated, but they're polite.
Right.
And they're considerate,
Mm.
respectful. But it's that 1, 2, 3, half a dozen people that just remind you that this is a crap job. This is the only time people ring you up is when there's a pothole or they have to pay for extra seating on the footpath in front of their coffee shop, or you know what I mean, or the rubbish bin.
Look, I had a
swept.
coffee shop, and that was one of my biggest gripes. Was not paying for it. That
No.
was a fine. That's okay. But you're doing the right thing, and others are not. That was my gripe.
Yeah,
So I did gripe to council about that.
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and you have every right to, but it's when you start getting irate about no gutter and a pothole that's sitting in front of your. And I agree, there's some massive potholes there,
Mm.
but there are some massive issues on the Central Coast.
What issues?
Uh,
What other issues
know
you
what?
think? You don't want to talk about those things right now, which is fair.
Only because I don't want to.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah. But anyone who thinks that the Central Coast is the perfect place is dreaming.
I don't think anywhere in the world is perfect.
That's true.
It's,
Just in case somebody's listening. Breaking news. It is not the perfect place.
well, what do you think makes a great leader? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've never, ever considered myself a great leader because I've never actually been responsible for somebody else's livelihood, life.
You have said that a leader is somebody who can make people believe in one goal.
Yeah, that's one of mine. The other one is leadership, the example you set
Mm.
and the culture you create. Now, I'll put my hand up and say it was mostly because of my examples that I could be classified as a leader. By going to bed at 10 o'clock the night before a game,
Okay.
by being so enthusiastic during a game, by encouraging everyone who made a mistake.
So you're trying to say these qualities that you have, these practices you have, these habits that you have, uh, are something that others look to. Like you're not deliberately trying to be a leader. You're not deliberately trying to say I do this and that'll make me a great leader. But it's just you being you,
Yeah,
and a lot of that is you show by example.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
And that creates the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it,
Mm.
you, I don't think I ever controlled any culture in any team that I played for, especially the national team, because they're coming from football clubs in Europe where they're earning hundreds of thousands of dollars, some of them a week.
Mm. Mm.
And I was earning $6,500 playing for South Melbourne. So, it was difficult to lead. The only way I could lead was to set an example to these people about everything but playing the game, attitude
Yeah.
to everything.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a positive attitude all the time? If something goes wrong, that's when you're tested as a leader. Are you going to shout and scream and get angry, or are you just going to go, hey, we got a problem here, guys. Come on, we need to solve this. Or don't worry about it. We'll
Mm.
get the next one.
Well, speaking of people, overseas players, you didn't play overseas. I've heard you talk about that. You said you weren't invited to. You did play in a club, and was it Liverpool or
No, it was a little club called Barnsley. I play for Barnsley Reserves. This is my claim to fame in England.
Yeah.
I play for Barnsley Reserves against Chesterfield Reserves at Oakwell, the home of Barnsley, in front of 200 people on a Tuesday night in January. It was minus something. And that's all I did as a footballer playing overseas.
But you never really pursued playing overseas.
No, because I had a job.
Mm.
I liked being a draftsman. I was a mechanical draftsman, drawing air conditioning 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. And I played football. And I was at home with people that I love. And you hear all these stories about, I'm going to go and play in Europe. Well,
Yeah.
here's the facts, guys. Here's the facts. You can't speak the language. It's freezing cold. You see your town once, you've seen it.
Yeah.
People are not going to be the football community. They're not going to give you an easy ride because everyone wants to play in the first 11.
All right.
And everyone wants to earn a lot of money. So it's not as if people are going to start doing you favors.
Yeah.
One roommate of mine, he said he got so depressed at one stage, he sat there in his room because it was freezing cold, snowing, didn't want to go outside, couldn't go outside. And he said, I ate a bowl of ice cream. He didn't do that all the time, but it was just one of those days where he thought, well, this is reality. And the only regret I have is that I didn't earn any money out of football. I am just like everybody else who had a normal job. I don't consider what I do a normal job. I love what I do, talking to people.
Well, what you do now.
Yeah, what I do now.
Which is,
but,
sorry, carry on.
No.
Which is motivational speaking.
Yeah, I'm only motivating people if you want to be motivated. That's the truth. Oh, yeah, I'm a motivational speaker. Yeah, but if I don't connect with you.
But more than that, you say you tell stories.
I'm a storyteller.
You like telling stories.
That's what I am. That's why you and me got on so well. I've never met you before today. And look how well we're getting on.
Well, I love listening to stories, you see.
And I love listening to your questions and the amount of research you've done.
Yeah.
You're a vet. I should
Yeah.
do a podcast on you.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I'm not that interesting. I don't have,
Oh.
I don't have, I talk a lot. Don't have much to say.
You know that's not true because in the, hour and a half that I've known you, you've touched my heart. You've given me
Really?
some real stories.
Look, the more I researched you, because I really didn't know much about you. And back when you were playing, I was more of an idiot than I am now. less educated, less just an idiot. Just call me an idiot. So I remember seeing your photo way back then. Yeah, there you were. Yeah, Socceroos,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that sort of attitude. But the more I researched you, the more I thought Australia doesn't hold you in esteem as much as it should, is what I thought.
Did you?
Yeah.
And yet, and I guess that's where we go back to, but a doctor does far more than me. I don't save anybody's life physically. I'm trying to talk to people's brains, minds. Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that.
But it's
So can I do the podcast? Can I interview you?
Yeah, anytime you like.
Right.
It'd be
Done.
great. Okay, so
how many questions will I need for an hour and a half podcast? 2?
Yeah. Just shoot the breeze. Soccer stories. I love stories. Do you have any other stories apart from Madonna? Like, that moment.
Maradona, you mean?
Maradona, sorry. What did I say? Madonna?
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what? Quickly.
I'm sorry.
She played a concert 2 weeks before we played Argentina over there in a World Cup qualifier. Completely destroyed the grass. Anyway, carry on. That's a different story.
Okay. Maradona. So, you know how when you play sport, you have those glory moments. You know what I'm talking about? Yep. Do you have one? What's yours?
Scoring a goal in the last minute of a grand final to win the game. From 2 yards out.
Wow.
I don't know how many meters.
How did you score that?
Smashed it in the back of the net. Just absolutely. Put my head down, probably had my eyes closed. Can you imagine missing that 2 yards out?
With your eyes closed?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I don't think I did.
What led up to that? Where was the goalie?
Oh, he'd come out and done some other silly thing, missed it. It wasn't me versus him. It was an area, penalty area where there's lots of people, and it just fell right in front of me, and I smashed it. And I didn't see it hit the back of the net because I was still looking down at where the ball was. But when I looked up, that was it. And people jump all over me. And that's what sport does.
Did time stand still for you when you
because I couldn't breathe because there were so many people on me. And I saw the white light. I thought, I'm going to die here. There are so many people jumping on top. But that's what sport does. It brings those moments. And they're priceless. And you can words sometimes can't justify how you feel. That one moment you go, yes. There's a couple of photos of the Matildas when they won their quarterfinal to get to the semi-final of the World Cup. 2005. No, it's 2023. And it's the moment the ball hit the back of the net. It was only a quarterfinal, but you can see when the girls take off from the halfway line to celebrate with the goal scorer. On every face, there's that moment. And they didn't score the goal, but they shared in that moment. And we've all had them, but I hope we all recognize those moments.
Yeah. And relive them.
And we live them. Look at... Can I, you said I'm a storyteller. With my brain operation, my short-term memory and my ability to concentrate are shot to pieces. I don't want to talk about the epilepsy again, I just want to share this story with you.
Mm.
And it took me months and months to memorize it. And it might be parrot fashion, but I was so determined to get this story into my head. And now I can tell it without thinking. And it's the story of Cinderella.
Mm.
You know how she goes to a fancy ball?
Yep.
She falls in love with the handsome prince. It goes like this. Once upon a time in a foreign country. So I've changed the letters around.
Yeah.
There lived a very beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Her name was Rindasella. She lived with her sugly sisters and stickard wet mother in a Marge mansion. Now, in the same foreign country lived a handsome prince. He was organising a fancy fall. He invited people from riles amount, especially the pitch people. Now, the muggly other and two sad bisters went out to buy some drancy fesses for the Bancy Fall. Rindasella couldn't go to the Bancy Fall because all she had were rurty dags. So she cat down and scried. She was kitting down scrying when she saw her Gary Fodmother. Her Gary Fodmother waved her wagic mond and turned a pumpkin and 6 mite weiss into a kig boach and Hicks white sauces. Bow to the gall, but be back by Nidmite, or I'll turn you into a tumpkin. Well, Rindasella nanced all died till Nidmite with a pransome hints. Nidmite, Rinda's panicked. She staced down the rares. When she bot to the Gotham, she slopped her dripper. The pransome hint shouted, "Bum cack, Rindasella!" Well, all he had was this last glipper. And he announced, "Whomsoever this flipper sits, I shall marry." Well, the next day, the pransome hinch searched the whole foreign country for that very beautiful girl. Got to Rindasella's house, tried it on the muggly other. It fidn't it. Tried it on the two sad bisters. It fidn't it. Tried it on Rindasella, and it fidn't it. It was exactly the sight rise. They fell in love and lived happily ever after. Now, the story to this, Maury, is if you're ever in a foreign country, want to go to a Bancy Fall and fall in love with the pransome hens, don't forget to slop your dripper. It's completely useless. But what it does prove to me and to anyone I tell, that if you really, really want to do something, if you invest a bit of time, it's amazing what you can do. People say, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And then I tell them, if you can do this by the end of the week, I'll give you $1 million. What are they going to do? They are going to go straight home and they are going to practice and practice. And they might lose sleep and it might not make them well, but they are going to go and practice and every minute they can, they'll practice. Why? Because they want $1 million. We all, if you can find a reason for doing something, it makes it so much easier, even though it was hard. Me, my dog, laminated story, torch, every single night to study one line at a time.
You've done really well.
Thank you. I'm quite so. I can say that now and enjoy people laughing at it.
It's really good. I remember the first time my husband said to me, "Whacking furries." No whacking furries, and I thought I'd never heard that before.
Somebody driving along the road listening to this has just run off onto the curb. Yeah, no whacking furries.
Yeah, or Chish and Phipps. Yeah, he was a lot of fun. So speaking of godmothers and Cinderella, what do you think of trans women in women's sports? Is there room for them? And before you answer that, I'll give you a little bit of time to think. I played rugby way back in the day when it wasn't an organised sport for women. And on the opposing team were a few trans people who wore bras and shoved socks into their bras, which made them women. And I'll tell you, there's a huge difference between tackling a woman and tackling men. Let's just say men. And it hurt. It hurt like crazy. And these people that played rugby weren't rugby players. They were just, thin trans women. We were just having a bit of fun. They certainly weren't athletic. And that hurt me, really, really hurt me. So I have my slant on it is there is no room. Because of that, the pain I felt tackling them and what it felt like to play with them was, I have a huge respect for men. I have a huge respect for male physicality. Huge respect. Probably because of that.
Yeah.
All right. So those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah. It's funny, there's a politician on the other side of the world who's just said we only recognize male and female.
Yep.
And, when it comes to sport, I totally agree with that. Somebody said to me, do you coach women different to men? Dead right you do. The way you talk, the things the session plan you put on. And I don't think women want to be coached by men like men. You're not a princess, but you're not a man who needs to hear crap like that, or I don't know what it is.
Can I just say,
I'm not sexist because I'm the father of 3 gorgeous girls.
I don't think it has to do with being sexist. You know how women go on about women's spaces?
Yep.
I'm well aware there are men's spaces as well. There's a different way men behave. I've been told this, speak and behave in a group of men that's different when they're around women.
Totally.
And which is okay. So
in a dressing room situation, yeah, it's okay because we all accept it. But it should never leave the dressing room. And kids, I don't know what age a kid is not a kid anymore, but kids should never hear that sort of stuff. I think, and again, I'm old-fashioned, that women should never hear that sort of stuff. And women, if women want to talk like that, then fine. But I'm not going to fuel it. Or let anybody else fuel it. Some of the words that people use today.
Look, I have a bad potty mouth. Okay.
Does that come from your upbringing?
No.
You hang around with?
No, actually. No, it didn't.
Right.
I do have a bad potty mouth. How do you describe it? So one of the words in English language that's used as a bad cuss word, I take on and I own that, because my thinking is that's why are we using a female body part to describe or have it be the worst word in the English language? So I take ownership of that word. I am one. I have one. And that's all I think. And the rest of it is just...
Is that the only word you use?
No.
But that's the one I was talking about, some of the language that people use today.
But I can use that word, and probably the way I speak lets me get away with, using that word.
You use that? You've not used that in front of me in the last couple of hours that we've been.
No, I don't speak like that all the time, but yeah, I have. I don't. That's not how. I don't use these words all the time. So when they do come out of me, it can be quite shocking for some.
Yeah. Shocked. I would be shocked. Totally shocked.
Yeah.
Look at that smiling face for a word like that. I don't know why. I mean, bloody was a swear word back
at one time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I hope this is not a progression of where language is going. That I mean, it is with you, but generally in the general community, I'm talking. I hope we just don't walk down the street and use that word.
No, I don't. But you know,
Wonder how many of your listeners would say, I've never and I will never use that word.
a lot of
It's
people.
disgusting. And I know
But
it's
it's not a
I
disgusting
know, but
word.
that's the only word I can use to describe it. You're right. It's not what we're talking about is not a disgusting part of the anatomy.
Yeah.
But to use that as a defamatory, it's, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't like it. I don't. Yeah. I wish we'd find something else.
Yes.
Let's find another word, please,
Yes.
and use that one in a very loving and kind way.
Yes.
That's what I'd
Yeah.
like.
I would never swear in front of. I coached girls in Sydney, a women's team, kids with girls in it. I have never. I can't say never. I am very conscious of my language.
Yeah.
And the way I say it to women, and I'll take anybody on for this because I've grown up. I've been married for 38 years, going out with her for 43, 4 women. And I know. And they wound me up one time. Well, for years, they said, Dad, got my period. I said, oh, right.
Yeah.
So you want more chocolate? Yeah, Dad, I need chocolate because, I need to.
Yeah.
For years, they had me buying chocolate once a month. Cost me a fortune. So
Worth
I
it.
will take anyone
worth
on
it.
with the way you talk to women.
I get it. I use swear words judiciously, except the F word.
Hang on. What does that mean?
Carefully,
Right.
where I place it, how I use it. Yeah, I've also been told recently that I write as well, that I use big words and I have to dumb things down. I disagree. I disagree with that.
You've got to have some empathy for us thick.
No. Look, when you grow up and you reading teaches you a lot. So you come across words you've never seen before. You don't know what they mean and you learn, and that's how you learn. But
you use them in your writing.
I don't think they're that big. But
Come on, you put me on the spot before. Can you give me an example of that? Of a word?
Of a word. Yeah, one of the words I was called out for on Monday was vestiges. In my first paragraph, I didn't think that word was a. I didn't think that was a.
If you threw it in a sentence, I wouldn't say, whoa, what do you mean? But
Yeah.
What did she mean?
But that stuff, when you write, I think when people read, you read it in the context that it's given to you, and you figure out what it means because of the context. You learn.
For me?
The last vestiges of the last. Let me think. You put me on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you did it to me earlier.
I did. Let me think. The cool breeze blew the last vestiges of the pre-dawn light. Just going to say dissipating into the harsh morning sunlight.
Wow. The
Maybe.
Last vestiges of the
Pre-dawn light.
So the what? The last elements or the last
last color,
last color,
last view, last
vestiges.
Yeah, but that's so boring. Let's get on.
No, it's interesting that just the fact that by reading, you've come up with all these new words that you use.
You just learn.
Yeah.
Which is why I think reading is important. Not just for children, for everyone.
Yeah. Why training is important.
All of it.
For everyone.
Habits. Good habits.
Habits. Love that word.
So the trans, you were...
Yeah. So as long as everyone knows that I will take anyone on when it comes to how to talk to, how to deal with women, girls, respect with a massive, put it in capitals, with exclamation marks. So that follows on to me and the transgender sport.
Mm.
It is so wrong, and I'm sorry to upset people. It is so wrong that this can happen in women's sport. That can happen. I don't think that's an overreaction, but we're completely different. It's the reason I talk to women differently. When I say differently, I'm not going to go and be so nice. Hi, how are you? I'm not going to do that, but so,
Respectfully, I think
yeah,
is what,
yeah, that
with value.
huh?
Value, maybe.
Yeah, value. I'm so against it
Mm.
because you know how you got hit in the rugby?
Mm.
Guys are going to hurt you.
And these weren't even rugby players
Yeah.
or
No.
athletes.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll say no, not at all.
Mm.
It's not right. And I believe there are millions of people out there who have said the same thing. And I'll
Right.
back that up.
There's one other thing that I will talk to you about. Really wanted to get your opinion about is violence in soccer. One of the reasons I was anti-soccer when I thought sometimes, over the years, I should take an interest in this. I want to learn more. And then I see some violence, something happening somewhere, and I think, oh, no.
Yeah.
It just puts me off. And considering that football is not as popular in Australia as other sports, this violence would affect parents, wouldn't it? Putting their children into that sport.
Yeah. When you say violence, what do you mean? Is it on the park is what people say? Is it what people do?
It's not the players, really. It's not the players. It's the supporters.
Oh.
Like hurting the, was it that goalie not too long ago in 2022? Yeah. What else have you? The attack on the referee in Southwest Sydney.
Yeah.
Was that recently? A group of supporters having a fight, out on the street, things like that.
Yeah.
And I know from years and years ago, I know there's a lot of taunting in football, and I know around the world there's a lot of politics involved in football, a bit like Eurovision, but anyway. And because of that, racism as well. All these. Look, I'm bringing up all the ugly things in soccer. I don't think soccer's ugly. I'm sorry, football is ugly. But the supporters certainly don't, help promote it as the wonderful game it should be.
Yeah, it's tribal, and that's what's wrong with it. That it's us versus you, and if it's us versus you, we're not going to say nice things about you. And as soon as somebody says something not nice, then somebody else is going to get a little bit violent, and then
where's the respect? Where's the respect?
No respect at all. And it's not a cop out, but that's society nowadays. I think what is happening on the terraces is reflecting a lot of what people are experiencing out there. Not bashing each other all the time, but certainly that competitive drive on the road, the road rage that's going on. It happens on the road as well. Getting a car park for the shopping centre, or why do I have to wait? I was next in line to be served at this counter, and that person over there is in a restaurant. Why have they got their mains? We haven't even got our own. It just seems to go from football field or crowd incident to boom, reflection of. I know that's a miserable answer, but I'm not trying to justify why people are so.
No, but I follow rugby union, for example, and it doesn't occur there that I know of, I could be wrong. Is it because the countries that are involved in football are just, the population is so much more. It's bigger. So the bigger population there is of anything, you get these extremes that other sport probably don't get.
Yeah.
So it would tend to be just 1% of this, 1% of that, creating all of this. Whereas in something like rugby union, for example, we just don't have that. You know, the supporters aren't, the number of supporters are probably not comparable to
the football.
Yeah.
If you look at the English Premier League, you'll see fluorescent jackets separating supporters, like not just one or two in a stand, hundreds and hundreds around between the fans and the players on the side, because they can't afford one idiot to run out there and do whatever he likes, because there's no fences. There were back in the day. They used to cage them, and that became illegal after one traumatic incident.
Yes, I think remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, they know that the things that one set of fans shout or sing to another is offensive. And all it'll take is one idiot, two idiots, one from each side, and that's it. It's on for young and old. So they put that, they know we need security, we need whatever it is to separate them. And yeah, that's back in the day, the old NSL, we all used to have clubs of the original people's origin. So we were a Greek club, South Melbourne Colours.
Right.
Played for Brunswick Juventus, an Italian. Green Gully were a Maltese club. And they were there because the people who came out from Greece and Italy and Malta wanted to start something that didn't need English to make happen, because they couldn't speak English when they first arrived. So why don't we all love football, let's create a club. Great idea. But what's happened, I think it's a long time ago now since I played, but people used to say, you know, there were wars back in their homeland, but it's the generation after the people who are experiencing the war that have continued the fight on the terraces. I don't think that happens anymore, because we've dampened that ethnic, this is all about your country now. It's more now about your club, which is where it should be. And I wonder what all those guys, young kids, were doing on the terraces when I played, causing trouble, having fights. I wonder what they're doing now. Wonder how they're bringing up their kids. Be interesting to grab someone and say, this is what you used to do. How do you feel about that now?
There's an idea there, isn't there, for someone to go and
yeah. If anyone's listening, please don't ring me, because I have no idea. No, some of the stuff that people shout over the fence.
What were some of them?
I can't. Although you do swear.
You don't.
No, I won't. I won't swear, because my mum might listen.
You're such a gentleman. You're so
whack over the back of their head.
You're so nice. Yeah.
Not really, but I try. Boy, do I try. I'm very trying. That's what some people say.
Your wife would probably say that. I think we all say that.
Hi, Val.
Okay. I want to talk about the Order of Australia medal that you received for your work with, is it young people? And anti-smoking and drug offensive campaigns. How did you get involved in that?
It was...
As well as football.
Yeah. We were the Quit National Soccer League. I think we were the Quit Socceroos. Before that, we were the Winfield Socceroos. The Winfield Socceroos. Yeah. And for all of those listening who don't know what Winfield is, it's a cigarette.
What a complete...
the snow-capped mountain in the background and the guy on a horse.
My mum used to smoke Winfields. My husband used to smoke Winfields before he before they became too expensive and transitioned to rollies.
So did you picture your dad with a packet of Winnie Blue up his sleeve?
No,
That's what I
he
used to
he didn't really smoke. It was my mum that
Oh, did your
smoked.
mum have you?
Let me tell you a little story about
Yeah.
my mum.
Yeah.
We were in a car one time. We just reversed from the driveway,
Yeah.
and she turned the car around to go up the hill. We lived in a cul-de-sac. She lit her cigarette and then started driving up the hill, first gear, second gear. And when we got to the top, she had inhaled once and the cigarette was almost done. There was just a tiny little bit. And I was watching it and looking at this long, what do you call it, thing of ash, thinking it's going to fall off. And my eyes just, one breath, the whole cigarette was nearly done. And by the time we got to the top of the road to turn, she finished off the cigarette and butted it out.
Wow.
And I was just amazed at this one breath and this long thing of ash, which was nearly the whole cigarette.
And you sucked it in as well.
Oh, of course we did, yeah. You know, they used to smoke inside and you'd be sitting there and
Yep, smoking.
you know what it was like?
And
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was awful.
you're not that old to remember that. You must have been watching a documentary or something.
Maybe. No.
Yeah. So that was it. It was a massive culture of cigarettes and all that sort of stuff. So Quit came on board, government funded, and said we need to stand up here and tell people this is not okay. So we were the Quit Socceroos, and I was working for Football Federation Victoria, or the old VSF, Victorian Soccer Federation, and part of that was that healthy side of things. And so I used to go to primary schools and do football clinics, 2 before recess and 1 after. And I just took it upon myself because I didn't take Panadol because I thought it was a drug. I didn't think it was performance enhancing, but I never took anything. So I had a real bee in my bonnet when it came to that sort of thing. So it was easy for me to walk in, do a football clinic with 30-year 2s, 3s, 4s, whatever, and at the end of it, say, right, you know what? This is what I said to him. I can't believe I said it, but this is how I used to say it. I said, right, you know what? There's a lot of people in this country that smoke. And you know what happens? You know when somebody gives you a cigarette and you light it? If you try and suck on it, the first time you do it, it won't kill you, but it is horrible and you'll cough. And the second time won't kill you. Neither will the third. But what happens next is you want the whole one. And then what happens is you really like it and you want a whole packet. And then you haven't got any money to buy that whole packet of cigarettes. So then you start stealing stuff. You need money because you've got to, and you don't realize you're addicted. And then what happens is you can't breathe and you'll be lying on a bed in a hospital. And you know what? Nobody cares because you were the first one who took a drag of a cigarette. Okay, off you go. All right, maybe I didn't say it but that's the message I wanted. I wanted to scare these kids.
Yeah. But look, it's
them.
not stopping anyone from vaping though, is it?
No, maybe I should stop.
You should start on the vaping.
Yeah, but that was my passion. I was just so anti-smoking. It's not as if I knew lots of people who smoked,
Right.
but for some reason, I don't know what triggered it.
Just cigarettes, just.
Yep. So no matter where I went, I'd like to meet one of those kids who I scared the living
See what
out of.
happened.
Yeah, but then I was sponsored by Snickers, Mars Confectionery. So wherever I went, I took a little Snickers bar. Back in the day, you could do that.
Yeah.
I'd use that as bribery. You can't use a cigarette as bribery, but I used to, with the Snickers, I used to say, right, if all those bibs, balls and cones are not in here in 30 seconds, you don't get a Snickers. Wow. You should see The cones are color coordinated. Never
Yeah,
mind just sitting in a
yeah.
pile. Motivation.
Is experiences like that? Is that what made you want to
Yeah.
be a motivational speaker?
Uh,
Is because you felt passionately about
yeah, I do
certain
feel
things,
passionate about
like smoking and
Yeah, yeah. I want to. Somebody said to me, "So today, did you make a difference?" I never forgot that, and I thought,
oh,
"Did I make a difference to anything?" And so I don't ask that at the end of every day.
mm,
Every now and again, I'll go, "I hope that I made a difference there,"
mm.
and that's a powerful thing, knowing that you've made a difference. Because if you know that, then you're going to make something change or something better or something um, bigger or whatever.
So that's what drives you to do what you
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Because I don't get paid a lot of money. I'm just like everybody else. Got a mortgage, need to pay bills, got to work.
You enjoy it.
I love what I do. I think that's the difference between um, me and a lot of people. I love what I do. I tell the same stories, but I tell them to different audiences. So I tell them in different ways.
What have been some of the best reactions you've had, and by whom?
I was doing it's a central school. It's outback New South Wales. So all these kids come from different towns to one school. And in this primary school, I had kindy to year 6,
Mm.
all of them, because there weren't that many of them. So I did my presentation to kindies in year 6 at the same time. And I thought, because you got to say it differently, don't you? You can't
Yeah.
speak to a year 6 the way you
Work to
speak to a
kindy.
kindy. So when you're speaking to a kindy, they're at the front, obviously. So you're down, you've got your hands on your knees, you're trying to get to their level, and you're speaking with so much enthusiasm. And you know what? I played against this amazing player. I'm using my eyebrows to
Mm.
give excitement and then drop my eyebrows when I'm really sad. So it's all about theatre.
Mm.
But with the year 6s who are about 15 yards away
Yeah.
at the back, you got to start talking a little bit normally and more. It's not about excitement first. It's about, hey guys, hopefully you've got leadership qualities, that type of feel
Mm.
to my stories. And at the end of it, I thought, it's dangerous, but I'm just going to ask, does anyone want to ask a question?
Yeah.
And nobody put their hand up. And I went, yeah, sure. Come on. Somebody must have a question. And we'll call him Johnny. Little Johnny, kindy, right in front of me,
Mm.
puts his hand up. And I said, yes. What's your question? And he goes, did the Rabbitohs win? And I went, Oh, I laughed, and the teachers were putting their forehands on their palms on their foreheads, going, "No, he's representing our school with that question." So, but it was a good question. We're talking about sport. It was important to him. So I said, "I don't know, to tell you the truth, but I tell you what, let's see if we can find out before the end of the day.
Mm.
See if you can find out. And if we're still together and you see me, come and tell me straight away, because I want to know as well." So it's just moments like that you go,
Yeah.
priceless, absolutely priceless. And yet I've done this presentation on the other end of the scale in jails.
Oh, really?
Mm. So
How
I'm
does that?
thinking mistakes. We've made mistakes.
Right.
And now we're paying a price. And how can we correct it? And I don't give specifics. The mental side of ownership,
Mm.
learning.
Mm.
And so I'm thinking that, and I'm talking
Mm.
as if I'm a prisoner, for example, or not a prisoner, somebody who's in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
I've never been in trouble with with the police or anything like that, but I can only imagine how some of them are feeling, having made mistakes.
Yeah.
Probably not bad people, but they made a horrible mistake.
It could take a second to make a mistake.
Second.
Not thinking.
No. And they're now for 25
Being
years.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you deserve it, but I'm trying to understand you, the person, when I tell you my story. So can you see why I'm very lucky to do what I do, that I walk away and at both ends of the scale, I think I might have made a difference today.
Yeah. And it sounds very satisfying as well.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of experiences to share.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And it doesn't get boring because I'm thinking at the end of everyone, oh, gee, I could have done that different. What did I need? What words did I need? What messages did I give? Could they be clearer?
Yeah. And having had the experiences you've had, you are now put in a position to be able to do that.
Yes.
You had a choice. You can either do other things or you can, and there aren't that many people, I think, who are in that position that can do what you do. Or have the capacity or be able to.
Yeah.
And secondly, actually make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to work, but I love to work. And the reason I can talk, I don't know what your background is, but you are so comfortable to talk to. So you've obviously either learned through experience and making mistakes, or you were just brought up in a family where life is fun and we all communicate and you all sing. And I don't know. Guys, you should see the look on her face right now. I had to do interviews as a Socceroo captain. And even if I wasn't a Socceroo captain, you have to do interviews.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
I really, really hated it. And after you've done so many, you don't panic as much. And then after a while,
practice.
Yeah. And after a while you go, you know what? I have the honor of putting forward my opinion on behalf of. So after a while, you can look at people while you're being interviewed on TV. And you're not worried about what people are thinking on the other side of that camera.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it was only because I've messed it up so many times and said stupid things, well, what I think are stupid things, that I can now do what I do. Because with a face full of pimples, as a teenager, I was the biggest introvert ever. I've learned to be who I am now, doing what I do.
Before I ask you my last question, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I don't know about or I've missed, or something that's important to you?
Wow, there are, where's long pregnant pause.
You can always come back another time,
Yeah,
and have your list of things you want to talk about.
Yeah. Let's say that people who are stressed try and understand. I'm not talking suicidal stress because that's a world that I couldn't even imagine. Hopefully anybody who's thinking that might just take a second or a minute or an hour to think about what you're experiencing is your mind either messing with you or, you're in a horrible place. And for some people, and I'm speaking for myself now, these feelings are normal. They're uncomfortable, but for the most people, they're not dangerous. Okay. Don't run. Whatever you do, don't run from this, because if it happens again and you run again, you will feel stressed again. You will get more and more anxious. If you don't run, if you stand there and you allow all these horrible feelings to come over your body, to heart racing, mind messing with you, if you stand there and face this thing, it will, your brain has a part of it called the amygdala that fires adrenaline, and that's why all this stress happens. It's your body protecting you. It's not your mind's job to be happy. That's another one I'd like to share with you. Can I?
Yeah.
It's not your mind's job to be happy. Your mind is there to protect you. It has done for thousands of years.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
So when you're feeling that, it's getting ready. I know everyone's probably heard this. You're either getting ready to fight or flee. And that's why you're feeling what you're feeling. You're feeling horrible because your mind is looking to protect you. Happiness comes from making something happen, a behavior. So if you wanted to bring happiness, organize a barbecue, ring somebody and say good day. And at the end of it, if they say, hey, thank you for that call, that will bring happiness to you. It's when people sit there and go, well, I'm not happy. And they don't do anything about it. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but be aware in your own mind that it's not going to come to you. Go and do something. Go and become a volunteer. Just once. Just volunteer for everyone's looking for volunteers. Just go and volunteer to hand out things at a fair or a whatever. I can't even think of that off the top of my head. Make happiness happen.
Yeah. So instead of thinking about yourself, perhaps think about what you can do for somebody else, which in turn
comes back to you.
Yeah.
Even if if you said to me, "G'day, how you going?" I could either say, "Yeah, good. How are you?" and you go, "Yeah, good." Boom, conversation over. Right. So if you said to me, because I hate that. Yeah, good. How are you? Like the guy's gone before he wants to find out how. If he really wants to find out how I am, he would have stopped. So I say things like maniacal, but I say it in that way. Maniacal. And they go, what? I go, yeah, maniacal. Maniacal means excessively enthusiastic, but it's the way you say it.
Yeah.
But I've started a conversation.
Yeah.
Another one might be, any better, and I'd need a twin. You know what I mean? I've made you smile.
Yeah.
Another one, as good as gold, or hunky-dory, or I am so much better now I've seen your smiling face. See, you're still smiling, but I've given us something different.
Yeah.
I say things like, geez, you're a good-looking rooster. I went to a funeral yesterday and people were sad, but because we all had a football background, we could get over that sadness short term and reminisce. And he coaches the national team, or not the national, he did coach the national team, and not Graham Arnold, by the way. I would never hug Graham Arnold, calling me the ugliest player in the national team. But I jumped on him and I said, goal, like we would have with our strips on.
Yeah.
And like it's a funeral. Like, it was in a big place and there were lots of noise and there was a bit of music. There was beer, there was wine, there was food. So it's not as if it was in a church.
Yeah.
But I just totally went over the top and I wasn't drunk. I just thought, I just have that thing. Make someone smile.
Yeah.
Bring happiness. And he had a big smile on his face. I know that's not for everyone. I certainly wouldn't have done it when I was an introvert. But now it's
now that you're not an introvert.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I'm an extrovert. I really don't, because if there's a crowd there, I won't go and stand in front of everyone.
Yeah,
I'm very self-conscious. But every now and again I get really brave. I'm always brave when it comes to, g'day, how you going? How are you? Then I'll let you have it and I'll
Wow.
make you smile.
That's really lovely.
What would you say to me? I go, Marta, how you going?
Not too well. I cried today. But thanks for asking. It makes me feel better right now. I actually said that to someone a few days ago. Someone at the checkout.
You are mean. You are really mean. I hope you listeners are thinking the same thing.
Well, I thought it was funny.
It is funny. You didn't come up with, well, my husband's just left me, bastard. You didn't come up with that.
All with a straight face as well.
How old was she? Assuming it was a she.
He was probably, I don't know, 17, 18.
Oh, love it. Love that. Yes. They're the most vulnerable.
They didn't know what to say.
They probably want to text back and show you the phone what they've just thought.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That's that's very naughty.
You were feeling in a good mood though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a mischievous mood.
Yeah.
And you were a mischievous girl.
Sometimes. Okay, the last thing I want to ask you is, what advice would you give to your younger self in retrospect?
Thinking on the football field, off the football field.
Anywhere in life, on the football field, anything.
I would, let's see what I would do. I would.
Since you're at this end now, you're a motivational speaker, you're giving out your life stories. You've had all this experience behind you now.
Yeah.
What would you say to you? Should I pick an age? Would that make it easier?
I'm going back to when I had pimples.
Okay.
And when the only place I felt that I wasn't judged was at football.
Right.
I would say, to myself, I don't want to mollycoddle myself. I don't want to put my arm around myself, because that was part of being resilient, that nobody put your arm around you every time something goes wrong or you feel lonely because you got pimples. I would probably say, well, for every word there's an opposite. I was going to say acceptance. Accept. All right, here it is. People would often say, it is what it is.
Okay.
Well, it isn't. It doesn't have to be. That's what I would say. I hate that. It is what it is. Well, change it if you don't like it. I can't change my pimples, but I can change the way I see myself by being nice to other people. And I think you pointed it out that happiness will come back to you. And all you've done is be happy, made somebody else happy. So, yeah, change it. It doesn't have to be that. You don't, because I was never selected to play for anyone till I was 23 years of age, because I just wasn't good enough. And I didn't care. I just wanted to be the best player I could today.
Right.
I don't care whatever. If we were losing a game, I wanted to change it. That was my thing. I wasn't coming off this park with any petrol in the tank. I wasn't coming off the park clean. I was going to get muddy. I was going to make a difference. Even if I was crap that day, I was going to make a difference to somebody else's day by encouraging them. So, yeah, that would be, I've never thought of that before, but it's just come to me. It is what it is. But it doesn't have to be. So change it.
I like it.
You like that?
I do. I really do.
First
I really
time
do.
I've said that. First time I probably thought it, but yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to take that.
Thank you for that, because I'm going to take that too.
Yeah.
Because when somebody does say it is what it is, there's this expectation that you're just going to accept it. And you don't have to.
No.
Mm.
No, you don't.
Mm-mm.
For lots of reasons, good and bad.
Okay.
Oh, is that it?
Do you want to talk some more?
No.
Stop fooling
I
around.
want to hear your... Oh, can I leave you with the dad joke?
Yes. I like dad jokes too.
I like dad joke?
Yeah.
This is my favourite.
Yep.
I'll start right at the top and we won't go any further.
Okay.
Somebody complimented me on my parking the other day.
Mm.
Yeah. They put a little note on my windscreen.
Mm.
It said, parking, fine. Well, that's nice, isn't it? I'm going to park there again tomorrow.
Oh, dear.
So you know what? It's not a good dad joke because you're laughing.
Oh, okay.
If I get an eye roll out of you.
Yeah, but I like dad jokes though.
Oh, you're weird.
I'm all there for dad jokes.
If I say that in front of 200 teenagers and I get oh, yeah, I love it. I say to them, yes, that is the best dad joke. Have a look. 200 of you whinging and complaining. I win. So
Yes.
when I tell a dad joke, I can't lose, can I?
No.
Because if they laugh, they're happy. If they don't,
don't.
I'm a legend.
Okay. It was great talking to you.
Oh,
I've loved every minute of it.
Thank you for all you've done and doing with all this. I wish you could all see the way this is set up so professionally, the way you look. Yeah, you've got your earphones on. People don't go to this trouble, do they?
You're very kind. I don't know what people get up to, really. I don't. I believe that if you're going to do something, like you said, just go and do it. I don't really know what we're doing, but I'm trying to learn and learn by just doing it. That's it.
Yeah, you're doing a fantastic job. You really
Thank you. So are you.
Can I shake your hand?
Yes.
Let's be professionals.
We're so far away.
We're not that far away, but gee, shake a hand and yeah.
Hang on, here we go. Closer.
Oh, now and that is some handshake, by the way.
No, it's not. No. You've got a great handshake.
You're a rugby player. That's not that.
No, that was a long
drop out of your hand.
That was a long time ago. Long time ago. They were great times. Right.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
That's what we should call this.
This one, back in the day. No one would want to listen.
That's true. That's true.
Okay. Thank you.
See ya.